This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome to Color Theory. This is the week 1 live session. In attendance is Professor Penna, Nick Underwood, and Telia. Am I saying that right, Telia? Hope so. If you're able to turn on your microphone, that's best. So, all right. This is me, Peter Olson. I'm one of the course directors for this course. Matt Penna is the other one. I'll be running most of the live sessions, and I'll also be doing some critiques as we go through, video critiques. So you'll see me quite frequently, but you'll also, depending on which section you're in, you may have Matt Penna as your instructor as well. So, and Sam Magoo is a lab specialist. She can help out on certain technical things if you're looking for somebody. So the best way to get a hold of me is through my, Peter Olson, is through my cell number, which I posted on the About the Class section assignment. So you can look for it there. All right, so let's talk about color theory a little bit. You're going to learn to become proficient in the science of color theory. So there's a little science involved. It's kind of fun. Yeah, Talia, I can't hear you. Color, it's cultural and psychological applications. There's a lot to that. You're going to get an understanding of color system and color management through Pantone. And then you're going to use it in a real marketplace assignment. And we're going to do a little bit of image processing, color management, and a bit about print. So these are the apps that you're going to be using this month. And we use Photoshop to adjust photos, to push pixels. Illustrator we use for making logos and graphics. And then InDesign is kind of where we bring it all together. You should have some experience with InDesign. InDesign is crucial to everything you're doing this month. So if you're uncomfortable with InDesign, you need to alert me right away. There are some resources to help you get started with InDesign, but you should be comfortable with it, and in particular, making PDFs from InDesign that you will submit throughout the month. This is kind of what the month looks like here. So every Monday, there's a live session at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes? Was there a question, Nick? Was that Nick?
Sorry.
All right. Yeah, so every Monday, there's a live session, 7 p.m. Each Thursday, you'll be posting work to the discussion. There's a week discussion for each week. So what you're going to do is post whatever you have so far, even if it's not done. The key thing is that you show your work, explain where you're going, and then on Friday, you're going to provide some feedback to one of your peers and review everybody's work. So you get a sense of the class and where you stand and how your work looks and all that. So that's what the discussion's about. And then there'll be things due toward the end of the week. So this week, Color Relationships due Saturday, Final Hero Portrait is due Sunday, and then you're going to make a video of that. So just every week kind of has the same rhythm. Thursday is kind of your key day to post what you've got so far, and then before the week is over, you're going to have something completed. Any questions about the schedule?
No.
All right, so here's this week. We're going to review the principles of color assignment. This is in preparation for the test, the color fundamentals test, and I think I'm going to take you through that test and tell you all the answers. So anybody who's lucky enough to be here and watch this, or who will watch the video of this recording, will get all the answers to the test. So how's that? I'm going to get on at noon on Thursday and provide a critique of any work that's posted in the discussion at that point. And then I may jump on again on Friday and see if a lot of people, if I've missed a lot of people. So we can give you some feedback right away. Yes, we went through that. All right. Only those who love color are admitted to its beauty and immanent presence. It affords utility to all, but unveils its deeper mysteries only to its devotees. Johannes Itten, he was a Swiss designer who worked in the Bauhaus. He was in the Bauhaus. This statement kind of is compelling to me, so I want to talk about it with you guys. Let's break it down. It affords utility to all. Can you think of ways that color affords utility, that it's useful? What do we use it for?
Expression.
Yes, expression, but I'm thinking something more practical. Like when you see a red stoplight, you know that means to stop, right?
Yeah.
Things get color coded to organize them. We use colors in all sorts of ways and a very practical means to organize, to signal things to us. You know, yellow alert. What does that mean, right? So all these things are very practical. But what Itten's talking about, the unveils the deeper mysteries only to devotees. So we're going to become devotees of color. From this class on, for the rest of your life, you'll look at color differently as a professional, as a designer, and you'll start to see things that you didn't see before. And that's how it works. I've been teaching this class for almost 7 years, and it continues to unfold for me. Like I keep learning new things. Color is a very deep and broad subject. And this class will introduce you to it, and you will go on from there, using color, understanding color, and unveiling its deeper mysteries. If you think about it, color is the most effective tool in your toolkit as a designer. In comparison, if you said you put type on a page, right? That's a big part of design. Well, the type has to spell a word. The word has to be in a language the viewer understands. The viewer has to be able to read, has to read it, get the idea in their head, and then somehow they start to feel something or think something. Color works much faster, right? It goes straight into us and affects us immediately. It's very powerful for us as humans and affects us in all kinds of ways. We actually use color to describe our emotions because it's so much part of us. So if you see red, here we're looking at red. What words come to mind when you see this red?
Angry.
Are you losing me audio? Matt's telling me I'm cutting out. Am I still cutting out?
Here and there.
Oh boy. All right. So anger. Talia said anger. What else?
Rage.
Rage. Anger and rage. I think we've got
Some
two
can
happy
use
campers
love.
here. What'd you say?
Some would use love just because of the color and the heart. Excuse me.
Yes, love. So yeah, these are all valid answers. Love, rage, these are like opposites in emotions. How could they both be represented by the same color? What do you guys think?
All in how you view
What
it.
do they have in common? Those two emotions have one thing in common, which is they're very intense, right? Very strong feelings. And red tends to be the strongest color. Like it really is what we call a high arousal color. It brings out a lot of attention. Marketers use it because it's great to get attention, but it can sort of be screaming at you sometimes. Fire, blood, energy, enthusiasm, excitement, anger, battle, revolution, cruelty, immorality. So all those things. All right, now we're looking at orange. What comes to mind when you see orange?
Warmth.
Warmth, yeah, it does seem like a warm color. Anything else? How about pumpkins, Halloween, autumn? It could be oranges. We're in Orange County here in Florida. It is hot, but it's not as serious or dramatic as red, right? It has the heat without the passion, without the fire. It can be sort of juvenile and kid-like. It can be some whimsy. It could be fun and creative. It means all those things, right? How about blue? What comes to mind when you see blue?
Sadness.
Yeah, feeling blue. You don't want to have a blue Christmas. Tell you, what do you got? What do you got when you see blue?
Let's see. All I see is something like gloomy with this color blue. I can't see a calm sky.
Yes. Well, that's key what you're saying, because it's how you use blue. It's not, it's the exact type of blue. Is it a blue sky? Is it a blue ocean? Or is it just sadness? Is it a blue suit? Is it, something conservative, or is it something sort of new agey? Blue can be all those things. It depends on how you use the color and kind of what shade, what temperature, kind of how you play with it. So these are the deeper mysteries we're already getting into. How about green? What comes to mind when you see green?
Money.
Yeah, money. Number one answer. What else?
Trees.
Yeah, trees, green leaves, grass, nature, healthy, right? Tell you, what do you got for green?
Oh boy. I'm sitting here staring. I'm sitting here staring at the color. Don't know. I
It
have
must
no
bring
idea.
some feelings.
Yeah,
So you agree, green, all that stuff?
a little
It can
bit
also
maybe.
be,
Calming.
think about it, it can also be radioactive, biohazard, sickness. Like if you're feeling green, you're sick. If you're eating green, you're healthy. And it all depends on, you see all the different shades of green. There's like green means different things. When you see a can of soda and it's that green, you know what flavor it is, right? It's broccoli flavored, maybe.
Broccoli flavored. Wow.
Colors mean flavors to most people. And so when you see a color, depending on, there could be slight variations in the shade, a tint, and suddenly it has a different flavor than what it first felt like. Does that make sense? All right, let's go on. How about pink? What comes to mind when you see pink?
Babies.
Babies, yeah. It feels kind of youthful. Anything else? Some people think of Pepto-Bismol, Dunkin' Donuts, Taco Bell. Somebody pointed out today that they've taken the pink out of their logo, so recently. Yeah, it could be kind of youthful, fun. It tends to be associated with femininity, although there's been sort of a backlash because pink got so out of control. And it's like, well, women are more than just one color. So youth, romance, feminine, admiration, evidence. All right. Color is also about physics. How your eyes work is a little bit important to know as a designer, because that's how you sense color. And if you look at these numbers, can you read all these numbers, both of you?
What is that? 7.
The one next to it is it 6?
Yeah, 6. They're a little hard to read. How about this one?
26.
26,
Yes.
23, 24,
I think it's 74.
74, and
Isn't it?
45.
45.
All right. So if you're unable to read these numbers, if anybody's watching a video and they can't read these numbers, you might be colorblind. And you should let me know because you're going to have some extra help during this month. But this is a colorblindness test because the difference between where the number is and where the number isn't is strictly hue. You can't tell by shape because the shape's all obliterated by little circles and the values are all different. So the only way to tell the number versus where the number isn't is through the hue. If you stare at this white dot for about 30 seconds, I'll tell you what's happening to your eyes. So one of the great things about human beings is that we adapt to our surroundings. So if you come from bright light into a dark room, at first you can't really see anything, and then your eyes adjust to the surround, to the situation. And suddenly you can see in the dark room again. You go back out into the sun, and now you can't see outside. So you have to take some time to adjust. Well, while you stare at this white dot, your eyes adjust to the color that you're looking at, and when it's suddenly removed, you see the opposite colors. You all see the flag?
Yeah.
I see a white screen at the moment.
Well, when you stare at a certain color, your eyes can become desensitized to it, and it can affect how you see color. So you have to sort of refresh your palette once in a while, take a break, go outside, look around. Professor Penn has reminded me that if you feel that you have color blindness or you are sure you have color blindness, you should contact Student Success Services. So, all right. Roy G. Biv, which is the spectrum, right? We're all familiar with that. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, which we see here. This is all the electromagnetic waves we can see. Over here is stuff we can't see. Do you know what's over on this end? On the left side that we can't see? But you can feel it. When you go out in the sun, you feel it hitting your skin. You feel warmth from infrared. Yeah, over this end is ultraviolet, which you can also not see. Ultraviolet sort of comes into view a little bit with black lights. And there's certain kind of like neon colors that have chemicals in them that reflect some part of the ultraviolet spectrum. So it's kind of a mysterious thing off there. The spectrum was invented, that word was invented by Isaac Newton. He did these experiments where he put a prism in his window, and the light that came through the prism, he theorized, was broken into its component parts, which he called the spectrum. People said he was crazy, that it was just the glass had color in it and it was adding color. He proved them wrong by taking another prism and turning it back into white light. And in fact, he was right for reasons he couldn't have possibly known, but the photons come in, they slow down, they're like particles and waves. If you're into quantum physics, this is very cool. And they slow down at different rates when they hit the glass, and it actually breaks this frequency apart, which is what you see. The slower waves are red, the faster waves are in the blue-green area. So that's what happens, and he was absolutely right, which is amazing because he did that all when he was about 20 years old, home from Oxford. We have a color wheel, thanks to him, and this color wheel is super helpful as a designer to understand some color relationships, and we're going to use this for this first assignment, the hero portrait. So let's go through the color wheel quick. We have primary colors. What makes a primary primary? I'll give you a hint. You can't mix them. You can't mix two colors to get them. That's what makes it a primary. But if you mix two primaries together, you get what's called a secondary color. There are three. If you mix a secondary and a primary together, you get a tertiary color, and there's 12 steps, the 12-step color wheel. So this color wheel is something we're going to use to understand some color relationships. If you looked at it like a family tree, there it is, the grandparents, the parents, and all the little kids. When you're working in your Adobe programs, you have a color picker, and the color picker shows you these different color systems, sort of color gamuts. So there's HSB, RGB, CMYK, HSB, and lab. The most useful ones are RGB and CMYK. RGB stands for red, green, blue, and that's the color system you would use for anything that has a screen, anything that projects light. So if you don't need to turn on a light to see it, it's probably RGB color. When you combine these three colors, you get white, and in fact, that's what you're seeing right in your computer screen. When you see white, that's all three colors combined. CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So this is the palette for ink on paper. So if you combine these colors, you go toward black. And combining these colors gives you all the colors you see in print. HSB stands for hue, saturation, and brightness. And these are tools that we're going to use in our programs that help us sort of identify colors and create tints and shades of those colors. So hue is signified by degrees because hues are on a color wheel that go 360 degrees around. When your hue selector is picked, this bar here becomes a color wheel. It's a color wheel that's just been unfurled. You see red top and red bottom. So right now this hue is set to 0 degrees. What color is that?
White.
Incorrect. It's actually red. Can you figure out why it looks like white? Here, we'll go to the next slide. Oops, no, this one. So saturation is 0. So that makes it white. It is actually the white version of red. I don't know. Luminance on an AB axis is what lab stands for, and it's not a very useful color space for most design applications because it has to be converted to one of the other color spaces to be used on any sort of device or printed or anything. Some people use it for photo retouching, but then they have to convert their photos after they're done. And I never really used it much in my whole career, like 30 plus years. So it's interesting. There's scientific applications, but it's not really helpful for graphic design. Color relationships based on the color wheel. We're going to go through these quickly, but this is what you're going to do with your hero portrait. You're going to create each of these color relationships. So complementary, split complementary, double complementary, analogous, triadic, and monochromatic. First, you got complementary. Now, these are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. High contrast, and it's a lot of cases you can see, what's the sports team, right? Or Santa Claus, the Dolphins, the Lakers.
Dolphins. Yep.
Yeah. So sports teams, why would they use complementary colors? Why do you think?
Because they look good together.
Well, they do work well together, but they also create like sort of high contrast. It's somewhat like punchy, bright, strong, all the things you kind of want to be in sports, right? A bit of conflict. Split complementary is like complementary, but it's like the letter Y. You go across the street and you go off in two directions. So you get two colors that are sort of working together, and then one that's the opposite. And this is a useful color palette with 3 colors that creates some interesting contrast. And there are lots of flavors of split complementary. Now, everything I'm showing you is in a PDF that you're going to download with this first assignment. So you'll have it forever as notes. More split complementary. Double complementary is 2 sets of complements. like the letter X going across. It's a team matchup. Vikings versus Dolphins, maybe. I don't know. You got 4 colors with some high contrast. Analogous means that they're next to each other. These are colors that are all on the same side of the street, so to speak. And so they have a certain flow to them that makes them feel a little more harmonious. But you still have some degree of contrast. You can see how that works. Like it goes from red, orange all the way to violet, blue, violet all the way to green. So you can still have some hue contrast even with them being on the same side of the street. Triadic, 3 colors, high contrast. There's basically 4 flavors. So there's a primary triadic, a secondary triadic, and 2 tertiaries. And then you have monochromatic, mono, 1 chroma color, 1 color, and you're changing the brightness and saturation of that 1 color. This shows the changing the saturation. But let's look at some designs done by other people and sort of reverse engineer them. And you guys tell me what you think the color relationship is. So what is this color relationship being used here? Well, you can break it down. I got a color wheel right here, right? So we got red for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this color is blue. It's sort of a in here blue, right? And this color is yellow. So red, blue, yellow, what's that?
Aren't those the primary ones?
Primary.
Correct. It's a primary triadic. That's what this is. What color stands out the most?
Red.
Yeah, red. The red pops out a lot because the designer actually sort of desaturated the yellow quite a bit. So it's not like a real bright yellow. It's very creamy kind of. And the blue is sort of desaturated and bent a little toward the blue-green. But that way, there's a certain hierarchy. Like the red gets to stand out as the hero. And the other colors are more like support for that. This one, really it has 2 colors. Yellow and violet. So what's the relationship?
Complementary.
Yeah, complementary. This is Louise Feli's work, and she's doing a tint of the violet as well. But it's interesting. So she gets mostly violet, and then the yellow, which is a complement, sort of pops out certain areas, gives a little emphasis on certain areas. What's this one?
Complementary.
Yeah, it's complementary again. This time it's more like from blue-green to red-orange. So instead of just being blue to orange, it's a little off from the typical colors. And they're both a little bit desaturated. So there's a certain kind of quirkiness to the design, makes it feel a little different. This one, I'll help you out here. So this is, let's see, we've got sort of green, blue, green, and a red-orange, right? So what is that?
It was blue, green, and what?
Blue,
Red.
green, and red-orange. That's a split complementary, right? You go across the street, but then you go on either side. This is the work of Jessica Ish, who's a fantastic type designer. You can see her typography there. So what she does, she got this blue sky, this green tree. They're all sort of very harmonious. And then the orange becomes this little accent pop out with these flowers and the nest, sort of creating little areas that draw attention, kind of pull your eye around the whole design. See how that works so nicely? All right, what's this one? Go ahead, Talia.
thinking hard. I mean,
Well, you
those
don't
are
have to think.
two primary colors right there. So,
Well, it's sort of a blue green and a red. So it's
so
complementary, but it's a little bit bent, you know, like instead of just going straight orange to blue green, red orange to blue green, it's kind of a little more warmer, or what I would say cooler red than this red orange, like going this direction a little bit. So temperature changes a little bit, blue green down here for this. The black is very active in this. It actually, this design actually uses the same number of channels that you are going to use in your portrait, and it's well done. How about this one? What's the color relationship here?
Primary.
Yeah, it's a primary triadic. It has, what's the feeling you get from this?
Excitement.
Yeah, excitement. It's fun. Does it feel more adult-like or more kid-like?
kid.
Yeah, part of it is the illustration. It's got these little toys and it's got a comic book kind of feeling. But primary, full strength primary triadic is very kind of like, feels like elementary school, feels like kind of basic. And certainly that's appropriate for this, is a design for a book cover for recipes for popcorn. So it's fun. It should be like that. All right, what's this color relationship? If you just name the color. So this is like red, yellow, and blue. What is that?
Primary triadic.
It is a primary triadic, but it looks way different than the last one, right? The reason for that is because the red is sort of pushed, we would say cooler, over toward the blue. It's more of this red-violet color. The yellow is pretty straightforward, and the blue is sort of a blue-green, like pushed this way a little bit. So it feels a little alternative. It's not like the straight-up primary triadic like the other one. The yellow pops out because it's really the full-strength color. See how that works? It feels more sophisticated. I keep talking about warm and cool. Every color has sort of a warm and cool version of itself. So as you go down one way across the color wheel, you'll be warmer. The other way, you're a little cooler. And this is something that you can manipulate in your designs. You know, like I'm going to use a primary triadic, but I'm going to make it a little cooler red or warmer blue. Here is a painting by Maxfield Parrish. Have you, any of you seen this painting?
Not me.
Nope.
I'm going to actually switch to a different presentation that has a better picture of this. All right, here we go. So there we go. All right, this is a painting by Maxfield Parrish. He was an illustrator and a painter in the early 20th century. This painting is from around 1914, I think. And he experimented with using photography as a tool, which no one had really done that very much. And he loved this sort of sunlight coming through the trees and stuff. What time of day do you think this is supposed to take place?
Evening.
Evening, yeah, that's a good guess. Actually, the title of the painting is Daybreak. But evening's a good guess because when the sun is low in the sky in the evening and in the morning, most of the blue-green spectrum is blocked by the atmosphere and the light becomes very sort of warm, which is what you're seeing, right? So look at these mountains in the background. What color relationship is he using for these mountains? The areas where the sun is hitting are like an orange and a yellow, and the shadows are what color?
Gray to black.
Is that what you're seeing, gray to black? They're
Or it
kind of
could be a
blue,
dark blue.
dark blue and violet. There's some blue, there's some violet. So it's complementary. And that actually is a thing that happens in nature. Whatever the color of the dominant light is, you'll see the complement in the shadows. Parrish kind of knew this and created this look so that these mountains, instead of just being gray and dark gray, you know, white or gray, they have that look of early morning light. And they sort of fade in the distance here with atmospheric perspective, sort of desaturating the colors as they go back. So there's a lot of depth and moving things in space and color that is being used here. All right, so these are the levers that you use to sort of move color the way you want. You've got the hue, the saturation, which is how much white is in the color, the brightness, how much black is in the color, and the temperature, how warm or cool it is. So sort of manipulating these four attributes of the color, you create artwork, create your color relationships for your artwork that you're going to do this week. So that's kind of what you want to remember, HSV and T. All right, back to the other lecture. So you're going to create a hero portrait. That's what's due this week. You're going to create a portrait of any person, living or dead, but they cannot be a fictional character. So a little more on that later. But this is by Degas. It's a drawing, and Degas, you know, was famous for these beautiful pastel drawings. He loved color, but he also understood the importance of structure, of grayscale, and he did a lot of studies like this of people, pencil drawings. Matisse also loved color, but he understood the importance of grayscale, black and white, and this is one of his monoprints in black. And this is Degas' drawing of Matisse.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So the light and dark grayscale is kind of what we're going to start with. You're going to start by creating a grayscale portrait, and then you're going to move into color. And now I'm going to show you some student examples. So this is a student's work. He did H.P. Lovecraft, the author. H.P. Lovecraft wrote stories about sea monsters and stuff. So he made it look kind of ominous. He gave him like strange creatures in the background, and it tells a bit of a story. It's not just a face. It's a piece of art that shows something, tells a story. But for this purpose of this assignment, I want you to follow these rules. So he's using black and white, a light gray, and a dark gray, and that is all. You have to use one light gray, one dark gray, black and white. You can't use drop shadows and blends and effects. I want you to be very strict about this. What you're doing is actually sort of simulating screen printing, because ultimately we're going to put this on a t-shirt digitally. Here's another one, another student's work. This is Simon Bolivar, the hero of Venezuela, and kind of an ominous portrait. He was killed by the aristocracy when he tried to give the country back to the people. A light gray, a dark gray, and black and white. That's all there is. You can do a lot within these limitations. Nelson Mandela, again, light gray, dark gray, black and white. And this one is, you know who this is?
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, right. Most people say Dr. X, Nick, so 50 points for Hufflepuff. Yeah, it's a good portrait. It looks like him, but there's not a lot of concept to this. There's just some stripes in the background. I don't really get why he's her hero, and there isn't like a special style to it. So it kind of doesn't meet the mark quite well in terms of being an interesting piece of art. Actually, I'm going to jump over to a different lecture. I got to pull this all together. All right, here's another. This is a student example of the whole thing. This is Paola, she did Harry Styles. So here's her grayscale. She's got some negative space here with some tropical leaves. She's got a butterfly behind him, which is significant for him for some reason that I'm not aware of. The style is pretty good, and you recognize him, right? Actually, I had a student today who said, "Who's Harry Styles?" I don't know who that is. So not everyone recognizes him. So this is pretty effective. This is a good one. And then once you get the grayscale finished, you're going to convert it into colors. So a monochromatic version, which is 4 colors with no black, no white. A complementary version, which is 2 colors plus black and white. Split complementary, 3 colors plus either black or white. She chose white. Double complementary, which is 2 sets of complements, no black, no white. Analogous, which is colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And triadic, 3 colors plus either black or white. She chose white. Then you're going to pick your favorite out of those, and you're going to do color separations just like you would if you're going to a screen printer, and put it on a t-shirt mock-up. Does that sound like fun?
Yes.
So the first step in this assignment is to figure out who your hero is. And I want it to be somebody you care about, because you'll do better work if you here's some more samples. So Michael Jordan, Orville Wright from the Wright brothers, Frida Kahlo. This is Emma Watson.
Emma Watson.
Yeah. So it's up to you who you pick and how you do that. Let's look at the assignment. All right, so here's the hero portrait. There's basically 4 pieces here. The first one is doing your grayscale portrait. Now, lest you be intimidated, you have essentially till Friday to complete this, but you're going to post whatever you've got so far by Thursday on this week 1 discussion. All right, so we'll open up this. So as you see here, there's some written instructions that tell you most of what I just said in case you need to refer to it. If you have any trouble with InDesign, there's this InDesign quick start from Linda if you need to do that. But if you are having trouble with InDesign, please contact me right away, because you need to know InDesign to do this work for this class. The rubric is based on the concept, like what's the idea behind it, what did you come up with, and how well you used grayscale to render the figure, render the face, right? This grayscale portrait zip file is something you got to download that has the files you're going to use for this assignment. And there are some samples, so I gave you some examples, some good examples, some not so good examples, and some really bad examples. So in the bad examples, you just see, if you just go in and take a photo of somebody and sort of auto trace it, that's not doing the assignment. If you're really clumsy with the work and everything kind of messy, you don't want to do that either. You want to create a composition that works well on a shirt. Like these are all sort of self-contained compositions. They work well on a t-shirt. These have a little bit of concept. This one is cropped terribly. There's not much of an idea there. This one, the grayscale is off and it maybe has too many grays. So you got to work through this and get to something good. All right, this video is kind of fun. It just takes you through the whole thing. Then there are 2 videos by our friend Omar Martinez, whose portrait is here. And he shows you how to go from sketch to illustration, or how to go from photo to illustration. So depending on your strategy, if you're using a photo reference, you probably want to watch this one. If you're drawing it out and then going into it, then use this one. So those kind of help you along. Now, key thing, it says in the instructions, you must end up in Adobe Illustrator. You can use Photoshop as a tool to get along the way, but your grayscale portrait must be an Adobe Illustrator file. You can't create a Photoshop file and follow the rest of the assignment properly. So that's what you're up against this week. Like I said, the discussion, the week 1 discussion is where you're going to post whatever you've got so far before midnight on Thursday. I encourage you to do it before noon, because then I'll give you a live critique if you've got your work in by then. Any questions about what we're doing this week?
Nope.
All right, let me go back because I got to go. There's the other part. So color relationships. This is all going to be due. This is going to be due for Saturday. Color relationship, where you take your grayscale portrait and you convert it into colors based on the color relationships. And I have a video here that shows you, there's 2 videos, two different ways to get to your color relationships. So you can watch them both, decide which one works the best. And then how to pick your Pantone colors. So you figure out your color relationships, and then you're going to do a final presentation on Sunday. You're going to do your separations, your silkscreen separations, and then you're going to do a video, an Adobe Spark video is what I'm recommending. You can use another tool if you want, and you're going to show off your work and post the link to the video on the discussion as well as in the final assignment, in this assignment. So it's a fair amount of work. If you have questions, this is the key thing I want everyone to know. If you're struggling for hours doing any part of this, other than being creative, if you're struggling technically with anything, please reach out for help. It shouldn't be that hard, and we can probably have a quick solution for you. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any other questions, I appreciate Nick and Talia being here, so hope to see more of you soon. I'm going to end the recording and let everyone go work.